Hey guys, Mrhappy here, and today I'm going to be doing my first impressions on Diablo III Reaper of Souls. I got into the friends and family beta. I had somebody who invited me. Thank you very much. I will leave them unnamed here, but thank you very much for inviting me into the beta. It is amazing, and I am so thankful to have had the opportunity to try it out. So anyway, without even taking that into mind, let's just go right into first impressions, because otherwise I'm the kind of person who will ramble on forever before even getting to my first point. So I have a couple of notes here on things that I definitely saw improvement with, and I have a few things I would still like to see improvement with. Some of the things are honestly a little bit nitpicky, so I'll be honest with you up front that they may not be problems of people on a wide scale. They may just be personal problems. Everything here is opinionated. Also, everything here is a result of early beta balancing. All of these things that I'm saying are subject to change. Things may very well be different when the game actually launches, may even be different a month from now, but let's just go over my first impressions on the beta. So, first thing I touched was Crusader. I think that's anybody's first thing when you say, oh, Diablo III Reaper Souls, gotta try out the new Crusader. So I tried out Crusader, and it feels amazing to play. I mean, everything's extremely flashy, everything's extremely powerful, minus a few abilities. A few abilities felt like they were underpowered, but I'm sure that if I were to look around, maybe look for some Legendaries and look for certain build items that would maybe give me better stats for those things, that it would just be extremely effective. And I felt like I could use so many different builds when I was playing the Crusader, and that actually goes towards some of the other things that I'm going to be saying about my first impressions, because oh man, you just felt like a complete badass. That's really all it came down to. Crusader, you hit hard with a one-hander or a two-hander. You can use a two-hander in your one hand. You get that passive extremely early on. The shield didn't feel like a hindrance. It felt great to have. There's a lot of synergy. You could definitely do some big shield builds with this one. Builds relying on entirely on blocking and chance on block to do certain things. I was just blown away at how well the Crusader was actually balanced. But if I don't move off Crusader, then I'm never going to stop talking about it. So let's move on. So the loot's much smarter now. With Loot 2.0, I was getting drops that mostly tailored to the Crusader as I was leveling it up. I was getting Legendaries that I could wear one-handers, shields. I was getting items that all had strength and vitality, resistances, a lot of them, and they all had Crusader bonuses on them if I were to get a bonus at all. Bonuses to my abilities, bonuses to pickup radius, thorns, all stats that I could actually find ways of using on my Crusader one way or another. Now, it was hard to find items that sort of meshed with each other in terms of builds, but I mean, that's just a part of exploring the game and trying to find random items for builds. I mean, it just felt good to have all those options and to know I could go back and visit them sometime in the future. Maybe if I just wanted to change one thing, I could definitely do that, and it just felt amazing. But again, won't move off this if I don't stop now. So Adventure Mode. Adventure Mode, honestly, if you don't want to play the campaign, if you're not interested in the story at all, just hop right into Adventure Mode at level 1. Adventure Mode was quick, it was easy to use, it was easy to figure out, and the bounties were super rewarding. I mean, I'm going to go over some of that in a little bit, but just, you gotta see Adventure Mode. I'm going to be doing videos about all this stuff, so don't worry if you haven't seen it yet. I will be sure to be posting videos on Crusader, Adventure Mode, loot, everything. So if one does not care for campaign, they could simply play an adventure mode and bypass the campaign. And the reason why you can do this is because monsters actually scale with you now. So as you visit new areas after you level up, you don't have to worry about over-leveling an entire act like you may have had to in the campaign in Diablo 3 in the original release. You'd be like, I'm level 30, but these monsters are level 12, so I don't know what and I'm just blowing through it, and it's a ton of fun, but I'm not getting any experience points. You don't have to worry about that. Monsters will keep scaling up with you as long as you keep moving on to new areas. Every time you zone out, they should level up with you, and it just makes for a good gameplay experience. It means you can go to any act, anywhere, anytime, and level up effectively, which was just great. And to even add more to that, with the difficulties, they took out Monster Power, they took out Normal, Nightmare, Hell, and Inferno, all that's gone. Difficulties feel more difficult now, whereas Normal, Nightmare, Hell, Inferno all just felt like a linear path. You now sort of can tailor it to your own skill and build and actual gear and how your overall gameplay experience you want it to be. I mean, you have 5 difficulties now, and Torment is going to be 1 through 5 from what I understand. Torment you unlock at 70, and they more resemble sort of jumps in Monster Power from like 0 to 3 to 6 to 9. and upwards, since Torment's going to have multiple difficulties. It just seems like the difficulties are far more meaningful now, and they're far more rewarding than they may have felt in Monster Power. The rewards you'll see are far more tangible. I guess it's a virtual game, so tangible is not the right word, but you can visibly see what is improving as opposed to just saying, okay, well, I'm getting a slight boost in this, and I can feel it a little bit, but it's not there. No, you can actually see the improvements that each difficulty adds to your drop rates and all that stuff. So next, Nephalem Rifts. Oh, man, Nephalem Rifts are hilarious fun. I mean, I ran into, I think, 4 different shrines in total I ran into. I ran into one that made me really fast for 30 seconds, and I mean, like, way faster than a fleeting shrine. Like, as soon as you use something that has movement speed, like Sprint or your Steed for Crusader, you just move so fast. It was unbelievable. I mean, I had one that shot out OP lightning bolts, which I could just run through everything, and the lightning bolts would take care of the rest. Then I had one that made me deal 400% increased damage, which, whew, man, you thought you were doing a lot of damage before with your build. You get that, you are going to blow through a Nephalem Rift in about 5 seconds. And one that made, this was by far my favorite one that made all of my abilities cost no resources and have no cooldown. Just imagine that. Imagine your favorite ability, but it sits on like a 2-minute cooldown or something like that. Imagine being able to use that constantly for 2 minutes. That was what one of the shrines did, and it was amazing. It was so much fun, and I just wanted to do rift after rift after rift, just so I could keep getting these shrines, and not playing a rift made me feel really weak after getting shrines like that. Now, so I've spoken about quite a few different things. I'm going to go back and I'm going to visit some of the things that I said before and elaborate a little bit more, like Legendaries. This is more the smart loot thing. Legendaries feel legendary. Everything I picked up, almost everything, made me go, oh snap, I could do a build with this, which is something Diablo 3 never had before. I mean, some items made you go, okay, well, without this item, I won't have enough attack speed to do this build. But it's not like that. It's not like, oh, this item gives me attack speed that I need in order for my build to work. It's not just things like attack speed. I mean, alright, so here's some examples. I found an effect on, I think it was a bracelet that had 25% damage reduction for each enemy nearby me that was stunned. So you could go for a stun build right there, a stun tank build with something like that. You have one that picking up gold gave you armor equal to the amount you picked up, so gold pickup radius with a high armor tank, that could also be a thing. There was chain lightning effects, which are really generic, but they were there, and they could definitely just add DPS onto what you were doing as it was. Yeah, and I saw a set bonus that made your thorn damage AoE. So if you wanted to go for a deep Thorns build, you could get this set of armor, and at the 4-set bonus, it'll make your Thorns damage deal damage in an AoE. I'm just barely scratching the surface on Legendaries. There were way more than this, but those ones are ones that I personally saw, it may be in chat or found out about. I didn't go searching for Legendaries through some of the other systems in the game that could actually let you search them, so that's just some of the things that I'm just barely scratching the surface on this one. And not only Legendaries, but honestly every single item felt important. I mean, even whites. Yes, whites. And those of you who may not play Diablo 3, whites are like the basic of items. They got like no stats on them. Almost nobody would use them. They were considered complete trash. There actually are trash items, but the whites feel, now they're important. They're more important than trash items. So you really want white items. And you can actually break them down into crafting materials that you need in order to craft some really good items. Like, in order to craft some of the legendary stuff, you're going to need some of these items, or even to craft some of the rare stuff that maybe you want to just roll random loot on, you are going to need these whites. Maybe at some point you're going to not need the whites, but if you're just starting up again in Reaper of Souls, you're going to want to pick up every white that you see. I guarantee you're going to want to pick up every white that you see. Now, there was these things called caches, Horadric Caches. I'm terrible at pronouncing it. I wasn't any better at pronouncing Horadric when the hamburgers were available in Diablo 3. And they drop insane amounts of loot and crafting materials that I just said that you needed. And they're pretty easy to come by. You get them for your bounties. You get them. You can actually use things called blood shards to gamble on them. You can buy caches. But from what I understood, if you buy these caches, you have a big shot at getting like level 1 items. I don't know, I had a friend get a level 29 legendary out of one, so it's pretty weird to think that maybe they're all level 1 items. So I don't know, it was a little bit weird to me, but I just mostly wanted them for crafting materials, gems, items to disenchant, and that you get them so often that you might as well just keep rolling. You might as well just use them as soon as you find them to try and get the items that you want. And you can leave some items behind if you don't need them, but for the most part, you probably want to just utilize every item that you find in a cache, which is pretty hard to come by that in a game where you say, I want all these items. I can disenchant them all, turn them into something better. It's very rare that you can do that. The blood shards, I'm going to go back to those. You actually get those for completing bounties and Nephalem Rifts and things like that. And you can use them to gamble on items. So you can buy a mystery item. It could be anything. It could be a white, it could be a gray, it could be a legendary. There are very few blood shards, so you can do this quite often, but you don't get blood shards that rapidly. If you do your bounties, maybe like one bounty every minute, and you can roll through all of adventure mode in 20-25 minutes because you're well over gear, yeah, you will get more, especially if you can do it on like master difficulty and expert difficulty and things like that, where Nephalem bounties are double reward, so you get way more blood shards and way more EXP and things like that. But blood shards, for the most part, just for gambling. So if you like gambling on items, like you're like, oh, I need that legendary axe, I'm going to spend all my blood shards and try and get that legendary axe. You could do that. If realistically, you could do that if you wanted to do it, and I think that's awesome. Clans. Now these last few things are things that are just sort of in the system that I noticed and I wanted to mention. Clans was one of them. Simple, easy to use. There's not too many features, but you really don't need too many. There's actually a feature that allows you to see everybody's character at the bottom of the roster page, which is cool. That was enough for me to go, wow, I really like clans. But you have a clan talk and you have a clan tag. The clan tag can be a little bit intrusive at times, but only if you're actively talking in like general chat or something. It takes up a lot of extra room in general chat. So I didn't see if there was an option to turn it off when you're talking in chat, but if there is, then I'm definitely going to turn that on, and it would just feel much nicer. I don't feel the need to show off to everybody, hey, I'm in this clan, so I wish I could just turn that off, but we'll see. And Paragon levels was one thing I really wanted to talk about. Paragon levels are account-wide now, so any Paragon levels you had before there will be a calculation that puts them together to give you a certain amount of Paragon levels for Paragon 2.0, which is pretty much what I'm calling it. I don't know if anybody else has called it that, but Paragon levels are account-wide. Even if you make a brand new character, he will have, like, let's say I have 39 Paragon levels. Your new character will have 39 Paragon levels. Level 1 with 39 Paragon. Now, you won't be able to get any more Paragon levels on that character. I guess not on that character is not what I mean, but that character himself won't be able to generate Paragon levels until he's max level. But if you went on to another character, your level 70, and started gaining Paragon levels there, then those would eventually get added to your level 1. So basically what happens is every character gets their own points. So my level 1 character has, let's say, 39 points, and those 39 points are completely separate from the 39 points that all my other characters have. And you can put some of them into everything. Now, you can't just put your 39 points into one category. It actually breaks it down. Like, I was able to put 10 into offense, 10 into defense, 10 into core stats, and 10 into explorer stats, I think is what it was. 9 into explorer stats. Sorry about that. So I put some in strength, some in vitality in my core stats. My offensive stats, I put them into cooldown reduction because I was going for a cooldown build. And then in my defensive stats, I put them into all resistance just so I could be a little bit more durable. You can also put them into armor and life gained and things like that, and life. And then in my other stats, in my like explorer stats, I put them into movement speed so I could get around a little bit quicker. So it gives you a level of customization you didn't have before Reaper of Souls, and it's very, very much appreciated. It's not going to make or break builds. They're just going to be places where points are going to go first, and that's where you're going to want your points. There may be people who figure out if they put enough Paragon levels and an exact amount of points, they can reach a certain amount of attack speed or cooldowns with the gear that they have in order to make a build work. But you can reset these points at any time, so you can go ahead and change them if it doesn't work for you and you want to revert back to something else or try something else. It was all great. That's all I got to say. Now, don't get me wrong. There were more positives than that. I mean, I did try out Berserker, and I was disappointed to see that my whirlwind barbs weren't 100% real. You know, they move a lot slower, and everything just didn't feel as fluent as it did before, just because they changed certain things, such as Thrive on Chaos no longer generating. You can't do Infinite Wrath of the Berserker anymore, at least not with the runes. Maybe there's an item that will allow you to sort of do that build again. And the whirlwind one that prevents the movement speed reduction is gone. So those two things were gone. So I had to sort of move on to like a rend build, sort of. I was actually working on an avalanche build with cooldown reduction. Avalanche, its cooldown is reduced by 1 for every 25 fury you spend. So I was trying to go like bash, avalanche. I was trying to go sprint to get around quick, ignore pain, and then I was trying to go Warcry and something else. But I feel I need to play around with it a little bit more. I really would like to do a perma avalanche build since it only lasts about 4 or 5 seconds. I want to see if I can get it down to the point where I can use so much fury that I can actually get that cooldown back by the time the 5 seconds are over and perma avalanche something, because avalanche does crazy amounts of damage on a pretty short cooldown, to be honest. But there were some negatives that I did see. Just a few things. Honestly, remember when I said white items are actually useful? They almost felt too useful, especially when I was leveling up my Crusader. I found myself starved for the crafting materials that come from white items while having way too much of everything else. So that might need some balancing, to be honest, but overall, at least items are more useful now, and I was thankful for that. So I can look on the positive side of these negatives, to be honest. And now, this was disappointing, and I didn't realize this, honestly, until somebody pointed it out to me. And they said because the smart loot drops target mostly the job that I'm playing on, or the class that I'm playing on, I found it difficult to find items I would want to trade to others. So it wasn't impossible, because I did find like a crossbow and a mage weapon that were pretty good, but it seems a lot less likely. I was mostly getting, legs with strength, vitality, all res, or gloves with strength, vitality, all res, attack speed, and it was just, I could technically, and you can't re-roll the stats and then trade it to somebody, because then it's bound to me, so it's not like I can do that. So I feel like the trading aspect might need to be worked on a little bit. There may need to be some sort of slight pullback to the smart looting. Maybe the smart loot is too smart. I don't know. It's hard to say for sure. Maybe if I was on my mage and I found a mage item that I didn't want to use, but I wanted to trade it for something so I could do a barbarian build, now that on the other hand could work. So you may want to level everything just to grind out everything so you can trade anything. But that seems like a lot of hassle just to do something that I should be able to find an item that was decent for another class on the class that I'm playing. But we'll see how it plays out. Again, this is early beta, so everything still needs a little bit of tweaking. We'll see how it goes. Now, Nephalem Rifts, now, don't hate me, because I said they're a ton of fun, don't get me wrong. But they don't feel as rewarding as one might think. Now, they had a discussion about this on the forums not too long ago about the rewarding feel of Nephalem Rifts. Do they want them to be really common but less rewarding? Or do you want them to be less common and more rewarding? So I feel like in the testing period, they're just testing more common but less rewarding, as opposed to the other one. So I feel like they're just testing that now, and at a later point they will test the opposite, where the Rift Stones are extremely rare, but the Nephalem Rifts themselves are extremely rewarding. But we'll see about that. I mean, don't get me wrong, you get blood shards, and you do get some guaranteed loot. It's nice, but it was more fun seeing the crazy environments, getting the crazy shrines, and seeing the types of enemies that would spawn, as opposed to actually getting awesome loot, which is, it's an action RPG. The game is about loot and builds and things like that, so having a rewarding loot system, it definitely needs to be a big thing, especially even in Nephalem Rifts, even if they're really common to do. At some point, it's just going to feel like farming Act 3 again. Even if the environments are different every time, at some point it's going to, in your head, feel like just grinding Act 3 did in Diablo 3. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more tweaks to that. Maybe bring it somewhere into the middle of Riftstone drops versus the loot that you actually get. And this was the most annoying thing that I experienced. This is my last negative thing. Waiting for a game when the servers are busy. Now, there aren't a lot of people playing the Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls Friends and Family beta, and I'm not sure if this was just because they have it on the public test realm and they want to, reduce the server stress just on the public test realm, but there were times where I needed to wait for their servers to be less busy to join a game. Now, I'm assuming that's just a PTR thing, or even if they are going to launch it into the full game, it's going to be on a much larger server, so the problem won't be as prevalent. But when Reaper of Souls launches, should this be a new thing that they are doing to relieve server load, I can see a lot of complaints coming forth. But I mean, then again, you're never going to please everybody. I mean, you're going to have the people who are thankful for it because it means that when they do play, it's safe and it's stable. But then again, you have people who are going to say that, oh, you shouldn't need to do that. But then if they don't do it, people's games might be crashing and disconnecting all the time. So, I mean, damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's going to come down to an online only versus, not needing to be online discussion. Again, just like in Diablo 3. But we'll see how those are like really my only negatives, to be honest. Everything else was just fantastic. I can't wait to see the game expand over the course of the next few months as the beta and as more information becomes revealed and as they make tweaks and changes. I'm going to be doing video content for it on my channel all throughout to the release, even after the release. I'm going to be doing everything. Don't worry, guys. So other than that, it felt like the Diablo game I was itching for on May 15th, 2011 when it first launched, and it feels entirely different. I plan to have a lot of fun thinking up builds, doing videos for you guys, as well as streaming Diablo 3, which I did stream Wednesday, November, what is it, the 20th? Yeah, no, Wednesday, November 20th. I got 1.6k viewers. That was really cool. It was my 15 minutes of fame after Tally disconnected, but it was really cool nonetheless, and I hope to be able to do some hardcore videos and some hardcore streaming sometime in the near future. But anyway, guys, Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you would like to see in some Diablo 3 content on my channel. Definitely leave that in the comments below. Also, feel free to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. You can go there, ask me questions, find out the videos that I'm posting, get updates, and whatever you want to do. It's a social way for me to interact with my viewer base. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitch, where I do stream things like Final Fantasy XIV, Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. I will be streaming more games in the future. Destiny, I stream classic RPGs, maybe things that you may not know that a lot of people stream. But so come by, check it out, see if you like it. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.